Greetings, Wapplers from around the world. This is our June 2025 Wappler Meetup. We meet once a month online on the second Friday of every month. You can keep up with Wappler Meetups on the forum, and we're very glad you joined us today. And we also, thanks to Ben from Down Under, we also have the videos on YouTube. We've got like 36 or 37 in a row now. The team is busily working on rolling out the Wappler 7. We're currently on release candidate 4. Wappler 7 is due to launch next week at the TNW conference in Amsterdam. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it because George has taken the plane for himself that week. So we'll have to catch up in July. In any event, today we're going to be talking about AI and a couple of other things. And I'd like to start by asking questions. Who is, by show of hands, who's using, oh, wait a minute, and do a show of hands, or react by a hand gesture. If you're using AI inside Wappler. 3 or 4 of us, okay, excellent. All right, Tom is 2, and RB. Okay, so this is over half the group is interested in AI and Wappler. My intention was to be able to demonstrate AI and kind of do a couple of things together with Wappler, but unfortunately, my Wappler has crashed. I can try to share my. No, I don't think this has anything to do with Wappler. I think it has to do with my computer. Because it's all locked up at the moment. Let's see. Mr. Cheese, are you able to share your screen and show us a little bit about AI and Wappler?
I don't actually use AI in Wappler at the moment. I'm sticking with a relatively stable version due to work commitments at the moment. And to be honest with you, I only ever use AI within Visual Studio Code. My previous attempts with the Wappler AI, which I understand now is far better than what it was, didn't go too well. So I don't really want to mention them because it would be negative and not such a good outlook on my personal experience when I see others are having great success. But within Visual Studio Code, yeah, I mean, it's essentially the same tools, i.e. Claude, GPT 4.1 and Gemini. And as far as the models go, yeah, quite happy with them. Aside from Claude, this week seems to have had some terrible changes. All I forever seem to be seeing is, I apologize for that. Yeah, I've destroyed your code base. Let me check Git for a replacement. And so I've kind of gone off Claude at the moment. It only seems to be this week. Last week it was working very well. This week it seems to be quite temperamental and destructive. So I think that's just the stage we're at with AI at the moment. These models are being rushed through, and sometimes I don't think. I think the testing at Anthropic is more internal than external. I don't know what others' opinions are.
Well, I think I found my problem. All right, well, let's do this. Everybody has used AI. What's your favorite? What's it called? Favorite source? I'm missing the word. You like Anthropic? Do you like ChatGPT? So far, but working specifically with Wappler.
Well, I've been working with Claude version 4, and what Cheese has said, yes, it does mess things up. So occasionally I'm turn to GPT. But I find still, despite the mess ups, I still like Claude the best. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm
Yes.
on.
Yes.
What I'm working on, I'll just explain quickly. It's an employee onboarding system, and this system requires digital signatures for when the employee has to sign documents, etc. And at the moment, I'm working on server-side PDF creation using Puppeteer, and Claude has helped me a lot in doing that. Claude has also helped me to uh, create a roadmap for the whole system. It's a very, very complicated system, but yeah, it's something that I have done in the past, so I'm not a stranger to it. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Claude in Wappler, that is.
Did does anybody have any insight on if the team is focusing their efforts on training any of these AI engines, like focusing on like Claude or another one, for example?
I don't have any firm. I'm just picking up snippets that you see in the community. I'm assuming Claude is their main focus, but I could be wrong.
Well, actually, I think the main focus is on GPT. They seem to be wanting to promote that a bit more than what they're promoting Claude.
Fair enough.
Are they not using a general training set? I believe that the training set is not really connected directly to the model. It's more connected to the actual software itself. So upon training, it's looking at the documents and structure rather than one model specifically. I believe it's sharing the training set. So across all models, it should be interpreting the same training data, and then each model's interpreting that slightly differently. But again, I'm not sure. It's just speculation from the community.
That would make sense and be why they give us the different models to choose from.
Yeah, I believe it's a shared data set for the training purposes. Otherwise, to specifically train each model could become quite difficult. You could have one model pass on its results to the next model for interpretation, and then onto the next model for improvement, and then feedback, and then just a model loop, essentially. That's how we operate on some of our services, is we feed one set of results through to a second model, and then that model feeds it back to the first model, and we specify which models are good at what tasks, and they share amongst themselves. It's quite interesting to watch it occur, but I'm sure they must be doing a pretty similar sort of industry practice of sharing a data set.
Interesting indeed. But what is the input for training the models?
I have no idea.
I would assume that they are taking their own source code for Wappler, probably a well-commented source. And then the models are interpreting those comments and the source in the particular files that make up the product Wappler. And from there, the models can then get a good interpretation of what the software is and what it does. And then that itself would then create probably training data based upon its own interpretation of the source. Just going off our own personal experiences with how we train our models. Well, how we train them on what we're doing. It's just a reciprocal loop, essentially, firstly, it looks at the source code of the project, discusses amongst itself, breaks it down into a human context, and then just improves upon that. You can be more specific as to regards to pointing it in certain directions, certain functions and features. But again, it's speculation. I don't know. It would be interesting to have George or Patrick here to bring light on that subject.
Yeah, we're working on that. I think the launch of 7 might be a good time for that. There's got to be ways. I would think that the community could help when about publishing successful prompts and prompts that fail, to kind of guide and fine tune the effort. And that's just a guess on my part. But that would be really cool. You guys think that AI is going to replace the documentation over time?
I hope not.
What documentation?
Okay.
I'm with John on that. I think, yeah. I hope not.
Well, I feel that you can ask AI anything. I'm on a Windows system with Copilot standard inside the system. And I find that even if I ask Copilot, which has nothing to do with Wappler, but it can give me really good answers on questions that I've got regarding Wappler. If, for instance, if I've forgotten how to implement a certain thing like security, for instance, I'll just go to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot, how do I do this in Wappler? And sure enough, it comes with a perfect answer, and even links to the Wappler documentation to take me there. Sometimes it's a bit hard to find a certain subject in the documentation, but with Copilot, no problem.
That's cool. And I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one that forgets how to do simple tasks like that and how to correct the documentation. I always thought it was my age. All right, I've got my system back up and running again, but for whatever reason, this Wappler's telling me the database isn't running. I would typically restart or go back and forth, but I don't have time for that. You guys have any suggestions?
Ask AI.
Ask AI. All right. Let's go to Chat GTP.
I apologize, Mark. Maybe that was a.
No, that was a good comment.
What I'm finding interesting is I'm a fan of DeepSeek and the Chinese models. And DeepSeek's knowledge of Wappler is, I think maybe the Chinese have their own version because it seems to be pretty on top of exactly what's happening with regards to Wappler.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's.
I've never heard of that before. Is there an English version of that?
Yeah, DeepSeek is a pretty standardized model. It's up there with regards to same sort of benchmarks as the latest versions of Claude and the latest versions of ChatGPT. And it's also open source, so you can actually run it locally.
I'm less experienced with the AI kind of powered Wappler. It's changing so much recently, but I tried at first just using AI models outside Wappler, and it wasn't particularly good. It was just to hallucinate a lot, just make up documentation and syntax, and it just wouldn't even attempt to work. You had to what I found is going into the code editor view and understanding, picking small parts of it and just working on it like that incrementally, rather than just, hey, change this file.
think what's important is to first create a rule file and put in there specifics that maybe when you start working on files, once the model opens the file, to first create a time-stamped backup of the file to protect yourself. Always keep a chat log document also, and ask the model to update the chat log based upon the current discussion, because we've probably all been in the position where you open up whichever IDE you're using, being Visual Studio Code or Wappler itself or anything else, that when you go back, the conversation's lost. So its previous context in relation to the project that you're working on, the files that you're working on, has also been lost. So to instruct AI from the beginning, update this document with our conversation and things that have worked, and also on the flip side, update it with things that didn't. And then always refer to these documents once you start to work with the agent again.
Like a
In that
change
way,
log, essentially.
yes, but inform the agent, the LLM that you're working with, that this document exists, and have them update it periodically. I mean, you can say to it every 5 minutes, summarize the conversation, keep it concise, and just focus on areas that were successful and highlight areas that were not so successful, just for future reference. I
Yeah,
think
that's a good idea. Yeah.
if you build that historical base for the model to then look back on, you will find maybe you have more success. That's just a
It's
personal.
specifically with Wappler, for a while I was using Cursor, which if you don't know, it's just like an IDE with kind of features built in, so port of Visual Studio Code. They were kind of the first to start, like, amending files on disk, etc. And I found that it worked quite well with Wappler if you linked to particular kind of forum threads on the community site. So you could say, right, I'm trying to do this. Can you go read this thread where people have already figured it out and work out what they did and apply it? And I found that to be relatively successful. Because the problem with the models is that they just don't know what Wappler is, and they don't understand the syntax. And, is obviously why the team spend a lot of time building these rule files that exist.
Yeah, I agree. I think now that these models can actually use the web, browse the web, retrieve data and context, I think things are going to progress a little better than what they have in the last few months, hopefully.
Yeah, I would say stuff like go to this forum post, and I think Ben has figured it out. Can you just take his techniques and apply it to what I'm trying to, and it would work quite well. So thanks, Ben.
Yes, you're welcome. I'm still learning too, by the way. So, but what Mr. Cheese has said, make backups very, very frequently, and while you're asking questions, sometimes you'll go over the limit of usage. Keep asking AI, how do I continue when I lose you? That way you get a summary of what has been done. And when you do lose the AI that you're working on, all you need to do is copy what it said, and it progresses on from there. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you just lose a lot of the information, and AI has to start all over again. And that's when you get most of the mistakes being made.
Yeah, or it will repeat itself and repeat the same mistakes. Sometimes it could be the most wonderful thing to watch when it works well, and on the flip side, the most frustrating, annoying, whinging thing. It's I don't know. It's what it's just a good input, good output.
Garbage in, garbage out as always.
Yes, yeah. I think you just have to good in, good out, and cross your fingers and back everything up.
All right. Well, those are two very important parts, very important points. First one is backing up before it makes any changes. That's huge. And then keeping track of the changes, and what you, like Ben suggested, to have AI keep track of what you're doing to so you can recover. So those are two very important points. All right. I do apologize, folks. I'm having technical difficulties that I'm not going to be able to overcome. I have no idea why. Does anybody have any questions about AI since we have and Wappler, since we have a group here? Anything else they'd like to say before we go on to a new subject?
Well, could I ask Ross how much he's used AI?
Just in general or with Wappler?
Well, mainly with Wappler.
So I'm a database administrator by kind of my day job. So I use it every day, pretty obsessed with it. Wappler. So I've been using Wappler for 5 years. I'm a bit of a lurker on the forum, so probably don't recognise me before. But the reality is I use Wappler as I've built kind of community site for where I live. Like built the entire site for the community. So that's my main use case of Wappler. And I've only just really started using the AI components recently. I found it's particularly good for the user interface stuff, but the kind of connecting with the back end and that side of it, I've struggled to make it work. Yeah, but I can see it. I can see every release and it improves every time. So I'm quite excited about its future.
Well, it surprises me, Ross. The reason I'm singling you out, I don't think I've sort of read anything about you or know anything about you. Sorry for doing
That's
that,
okay.
but I'm sort of surprised about the back end. I'm having huge successes with that. When you see the database and the tables that have been created by AI and the relationships, it's humongous. It's great.
I probably there's probably a bit of bias because I'm a database administrator. So to me, if the entire time I've used Wappler, I've always built the database by scratch. So I've always kind of, like, to be honest, tried to stay away a little bit from the Wappler database components, because I know, without sounding arrogant, I know what I'm doing, and I can do it quicker outside of Wappler. So for me, Wappler, the reason I use it is for the coding side and the user interface side and server connect. But the database components, I'm kind of comfortable where I'm at with that. So that, a bit of bias from me, just purely because the career I'm in.
Well, the thing is that I'd never used seeding before. And I just happened to ask AI, hey, can you seed this table for me? With dummy data, of course. And lo and behold, it comes up with a seed, and I activate the seed in Wappler, and the whole table is being populated. It's great. Also, migrations. I'm having constant problems with the Wappler migration thing, in that sometimes, well, very often I get errors and I have to reset the database. I think Mark had that problem just recently, that the migration just showed an error, and uh, you couldn't activate the migration. AI now does the migrations for me. I can see the whole history of what it's doing in Wappler, but I could also see the change being made in the actual database.
And do you do everything within the AI manager, or are you doing it on the files themselves, or kind of outside Wappler?
No, I do everything inside Wappler
Right.
using GitHub Copilot, and at this stage, mainly using Claude 4. But I find that Claude 4 thinks things over in a very methodical manner. But that means that there are a lot of tokens being used, and I run out of token, time or whatever it is that they do. I just run out and I have to wait
Yeah,
an
so
hour or so.
yeah, it's a well-known problem with Claude. I love Claude, but like I think it was it Cheese said that lately it's not been the best, and certainly you run out of your tokens quite quickly. So I'm quite a big fan of Gemini 2.5 right now.
Uh-huh.
I like
I really,
Gemini. Yes.
yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
very good.
I've yet to
Well,
run into any limitations, as
I
well.
tried it today and I got a 400 error. I don't know whether that was Wappler doing it or AI.
Mm.
Can I
Anyway,
just agree with Ross on the database side? I'm also have a previous history as a database administrator, and I also work outside of Wappler with my database. I don't like to. I like to keep my eggs a bit separate. It's too much of a risk to have a production database in the hands of artificial intelligence. I just believe that it's better to have human intervention.
I agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's okay if you've got a replicated version of the database that you're working with, which is if I were to do anything with AI and my databases, I would also always replicate them first locally and then work with that structure. Whereas it is very incredibly easy to forget that you're working on a production database and make a huge mistake that, we have tens of thousands of users on our production database entering data every minute. And for anything, even to lose 2 minutes worth of data there is unfathomable. We couldn't do that.
But even if you work with a duplicate offline copy of the database, whatever, there could be little bits that it does that you don't spot initially.
Yeah, absolutely, John.
So it's still not. I'd still say the most when it comes to the data side of things, the most I use AI for is start me off maybe with a query. Here's the table. This is what I want to do. Write me a query to do this.
Yeah, we do this.
Well,
We dump the schema and then we have the AI interpret the schema. We never give it forward-facing data. It's
yeah,
just terrifying.
no, exactly. And then you get the query,
Yes.
and then look at it and think, no, I'm not happy with that, or that's exactly what I was looking for, or a bit of both.
Yeah, you have that choice prior to deployment because you need some fail safes, especially in our circumstance. We have hundreds of thousands of financial records, and as I say, they're being updated in just every second. Our clients are worldwide, so as one set of clients leave the office, another set enter the office. We just can't risk that. For all the love that I've got for Wappler, it's something that I just can't put in the hands of anything else other than a human. And even for ourselves, we will outsource if we need expertise. We won't pretend to be an expert when it comes to our data. We can play around with the front end, the scripts, functionality, but data is the business.
Do you know what I found? So the AI is terrific for writing SQL queries, like really good. So something I've been doing lately, which is probably terrible practice, but I'm writing little kind of private apps and stuff. It's not for customers, so I don't really mind doing bad practice stuff for myself anyway. Is I'll actually, and you might wince hearing me say this, but I'll get the AI to write a SQL query that effectively generates HTML, and then I consume that HTML, embed it using a DMX HTML tag. So it'll return effectively parts of the UI that are maybe more complicated. That would be really tricky to do in Wappler, that would require a lot of conditional logic, for instance, in Wappler, but I can just easily do it in SQL. And then I just consume that and embed it using the DMX HTML tag. Again, probably terrible practice, but it's worked really well.
You know, you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I think if it works for you, Ross, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I had something similar in the past, and the thing I found more difficult was the dynamic components, because you can't bind data dynamically that way. However, if you use Node, you could use server-side rendering instead and bind it that way, and that way it's rendered in the browser and the dynamic stuff will then work. So as long as the bits you're adding in from the database are static, you're okay, but anything that requires a formatter or a data binding is going to struggle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a productive conversation for me, and I think viewers of the video will find that as well. I think that I may have my technical difficulties resolved. As soon as I say that, it's going to crash again. You can tell me if you're seeing my screen. All right, good.
Just black. Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Are you seeing the entire Wappler screen or only part of it?
Part of it.
Oh, it's in white. Ah, it's burning my eyes. Sorry, Mark.
I think, is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I thought it was Trump's cuts. I thought you'd been hit by a tariff or I don't know.
All right. Well, let's see here if we can work together and create something. I've got, I just started this. It appears the database is working and we have the index page. Do we want to try to build a to-do list, or who's got a suggestion on something we could demo? Mr. Cheese?
Oh, I don't know. I think I've been talking too much already. I think maybe someone else should make a suggestion.
Okay.
Well, let's go for a used car yard.
I would like to see something from the server connect. I've not done everything I've done has been on the UI side, and I've not used AI on the I mean, I can't see how it's, by the time you end up troubleshooting the stuff, I don't know how it's saving any time doing anything. I haven't seen any use of the server connect setups and how well that works.
Great. Well, how about building a server connect with the database tables, cars and country users? Or how about
Well, are they populated already?
the tables are, but they're supposed to be. There you go. It's got the dummy data in it. So what kind of a, Bob, what kind of a server connect can we do? You want to do?
I mean,
Give me a prompt.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't used it, so I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I haven't.
Can we have a look at the structure of the database again, please, Mark?
Absolutely.
Cars.
Well, just ask it to create a list of the cars in the country of origin, if that's
Okay.
possible.
Yeah, with date filtering based on the year.
Okay, I'm going to AI Manager and I'm click Start a new task and nothing's happening.
Now,
And
go down to the bottom where it
There we
says
go.
type your task here.
Got it.
Now, explain that you've got well, just create a list of motor vehicles in the country of origin.
And you don't have to say anything like, point it at the database, get it from the database, any of the language like that.
No, just do this.
How many times I've said that to Claude? Just do this, Claude. Just do
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. No, just see what happens now.
Well,
Click enter.
Has anybody found themselves interacting with these models that are almost like you're in front of a person?
yes.
Oh
I think
yeah,
I
and
made,
I'm very polite to them as well.
Yeah,
Me too. It doesn't respond very well to you bastard.
I always say thank you at the end.
I do, because you don't know when these things are going to come after you.
No.
They say it costs millions of dollars of processing usage for people saying thank you, and that you shouldn't say thank you because on the back end it churns up extra overhead on the servers.
Anything that pisses off Greta Thunberg, I'm burning energy. I'm all for it.
Mark, it doesn't look like you're connected to a model. There should be like a model at the top, I think, under AI Manager. So I don't know if we need to go in and configure it.
Where do we connect it to a model?
Is it not within the settings? Like the project settings, you can connect it to like Copilot or
And
That's not going to be here.
so the settings in the top.
I
the
think
bottom.
you need to go back to the there was some
The cog at the bottom left above Pro.
yeah, right there. Go up there to the AI guy right there above where it says App Index. There's another AI guy. Hit that manager again. Yeah, hit that. There you go. There's your agent and your models right there that aren't chosen.
Okay, AI. Chat.
Cancel that, Mark. Cancel.
Yeah, cancel that. Yeah.
And then look above the little robot, and you'll see no models.
No,
to the left.
Nope, below that.
This
Above
one.
that.
Oh,
Right there. No models. Right there.
Okay. Agent. We want to ask editor agent.
Agent, but you don't seem to have any models defined.
So you need to either sign into Copilot or connect to like a chat provider. So I use OpenRouter, for example. I don't know what other people use.
Have you not used AI on this yet?
Yeah, it's not configured here. It needs to be configured inside here.
You need to sign into Copilot at the top there.
Yeah, because you'll have to give permission in GitHub on which models you want to access.
GitHub Copilot. Okay, here we go. Okay, I need a key, which I don't have.
No,
you see the sign in to GitHub Copilot, Mark?
At the top.
Oh,
Above the select, yes.
There. Yes. and now save. Oh,
It doesn't look like you've
Yeah,
registered. Oh,
the
pardon.
gremlins running around the computer here are messing with me. All right. Well, I've wasted enough time here with these gremlins. I think I'm done with this. We solved some problems. We're not able to solve everything. So let's do this. Let's stop the share. All right.
Don't beat yourself up too much, Mark. I mean,
But you're very kind, Mr. Cheese. You're very kind.
Mark, I think I'd suggest sending this or timestamping the video for George and just showing him how like unintuitive that setup is.
yes.
There's a panel there that's got no options, and the steps that you're going through should be clearly signposted than not. And George can easily do something, I'm sure.
Very well. All right, we've got we try to keep these meetups to an hour, and the next thing I'd like to talk about is different. I've drawn a blank of the name. There's a what are additions to Wappler called?
Extensions.
Extensions, is that what it was? I'm going to.
Those are what are additions to Wappler are called. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No. There was a John, you were involved in a chat or on the forum about adding components, was it? Last week?
Was I?
Check your text files, your chat log history, John.
It was components. I'm sure it was components. There was a long list of components that people wanted, like a substitution for summer note was one of them.
Oh, yeah, the thread about can you focus on components, which haven't had any love for quite some time.
Right.
And John said he will once 7 rolls out.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought we could try to get ahead of the power curve. The post in the forum listed quite a few components, but it was kind of haphazardly put together. So I wanted to reach out to everybody in the meetup to think about the components that you would like, preferably in the order that you would like them, and input it into the chat. And I can try to put it together in a readable form and send it to the team so that they have an idea of what Wapplers are looking for. I know everybody's been looking, Summer Note was awesome when it first came out, but that was a generation or two ago. And it's that's just one. John, you had some suggestions as well. What type of components were you looking for?
I'm putting them in the chat.
You want to talk while you type to give others an idea of what the direction you're headed, so they can join?
Yeah. Let me type it. I've put replacement for Summer Note, as you said. A 2-factor authentication component that would use the standard that Google Authenticator and Authy and all of those use.
I think Passport is the one there, definitely.
The trouble with Passport is I think that's going to be node only.
Yeah, I've been over it with George before, and it's not coming to Wappler.
The other thing is inline editing. When you use the generator to create a table, at the moment, like my CRUD demos in the past, we've been you have to click open up a modal or a sidebar or whatever to edit the content. So an inline editor, so you could just click on a bit of text, turns into an edit field, make your change, hit enter, and it updates, and have that as a native component, because that's something that would just be used a hell of a lot. Because the bottom line to Wappler is time saving.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of these things we can do, but we want to do it 10 times quicker, like we
I
now
think
90% of the work.
the generators need a lot of attention, and there
They-
could be
The generators haven't really been touched in probably 2 years or more.
yeah.
And I tell you one thing, I'm sorry to interrupt, is the when you're typing it, like when you're doing a join table and it pops the thing up, and then you're trying to get your fields, and there's not enough, like the spacing is not wide enough and it's not deep enough, and there's a bunch of places that could be gone through and that could be cleaned up. I would think pretty easy.
Yeah, it's quite frustrating. I think that's been mentioned quite a few times, and I think almost promises have been made, and it's never come to fruition. And it must be such a quick fix for them.
Yeah, because you have to scroll
Or
all
it
the
isn't,
way.
or it isn't. I mean, you would think it would be.
But at least say that.
Yeah.
If it's difficult, just say and we'll understand. But I can't see
Yeah.
why it wouldn't be, just because all the other windows are resizable.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the table to get the horizontal scroll, and then you scroll across. And
One thing for me, we talk about Wappler being like a time saver. I put a feature request in years ago for this, and it was whenever we have a server connect action, when it returns, having a standard, like a page-based standard response. So I quite often put my messages as a set value with maybe success or whatever, or error, and it'll actually pop that, so I can then do a bootbox modal or a notification or something that pops up. And it's always the same format, so it's always a set value with ERR for error or SUC for success. I want to be able to just, any server connect that returns, if it contains the value for SUC, I can then do that, and it's the same for everything all the way through, rather than having to add that every single time. And I think you could do the same for anything that returns forbidden or invalid or whatever. You could have a standard response that would save so much time every single time.
Yeah, completely agree.
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Great. There's a lot of stuff being written.
Something I've always kind of wanted, and there's a few people on the website that have asked this, and the response has always been, "Oh, just kind of build it yourself," which I always found to be quite, I don't know, insufficient. Is, I'm not a user interface guy, but there's loads and loads and loads of kind of bootstrap themes out there that you can just download for free or pay for. So people have spent time creating user interface components, and I've found it a struggle sometimes to get it working with Wappler. And there's a few people that have asked about this, and the response has always been, "Oh well, just use the default kind of Bootstrap 5 stuff and build it yourself." But it's like you said, John, it's quite time consuming, that, and
Is that though somewhere that actually it's not worth them spending their time now with AI? Because you can ask it, especially for UI stuff, you can ask it quite easily to build a component. It'll be fairly consistent and modern design and all that kind of stuff.
you
It
can,
takes some of the effort
but
out of using a theme.
yeah, what's even faster though is buying a theme that has hundreds of components and just going, right, that's it. That's the exact component I want.
I can
So
highlight some issues sometimes there because the JavaScript files included with some of these themes overall the components and the features of Wappler, and it's very hard to debug to track down what's interfering with something else. Having used some, I mean, we had clients ask us to implement themes like Metronic, which is very popular. But the scripts, there are so many scripts included. By the time you debug everything and go back through and get everything to work correctly, you spent days or even weeks trying to fix these things to get them to work within Wappler. Sometimes you're better off to just have created it yourself. Maybe the experience of some of the users of Wappler are coming through, people who have tried to do that and hit these brick walls. It can be incredibly frustrating, especially if you're just like a WYSIWYG developer and you just want you just want to press a button and have it do something. Importing themes can be incredibly difficult, especially the more complex type. We spent 2 weeks implementing Metronic for a client, and we could have created the same type of environment in a few days. It was just constant headache. So yeah, I mean, on the basic themes, it shouldn't be an issue, but once you start implementing a lot of scripts included within these themes, you can really hit some problems.
That's a fair comment. Yeah.
Another thing
Yes.
I quite like to see is this kind of bridge between web and native. So at the moment, you've got to have two separate projects, one for your Server Connect, one for the native app. I don't see a reason why in project settings, for example, you can't have your web setup and your native setup. And then if you're whatever page you're working on, it should know that it's remotely accessing or natively accessing. And you should, especially with things like Ionic and so on, actually it can build the code for your web or your native all from the same code base. So there's no reason to have a separate project.
That's an interesting feature. But we're coming up to the end of the hour here. And Ben, I'm going to try to come up with something for the video recording of this. I think I've found out that the problem with the Wappler crashing wasn't Wappler, it was Docker Desktop crashed. The warning notice wound up behind the Zoom screen, and I didn't see it. And then Zoom also changed its dashboard since the last time I've used it, and I need to relearn Zoom all over again. So anyway, the technical difficulties wasn't Wappler or Zoom. The technical difficulties was your host. I apologize for that. But it was truly a wonderful meetup. It was I found it very educational. I think the other Wapplers will as well. But I do have one final request before we sign off. And as far as these components are concerned, George was very strong when he said that we're going to launch version 7, make sure they get it right. And I believe him. I know that's exactly what he's going to do. And then after that, he's going to work on the components. And there's parts all over the place in the forum about components of what people want to do. I would ask that you take a moment sometime between now and Monday, for example, and put your list together and reach out to me privately in the forum, and I'll try to put it in some kind of a logical order of what the community is looking for, and pass it on to the team to give them an outline of what the community is looking for, and I'm sure they will. He said he was going to get on them in a big way after 7's launch, and I'm sure he will. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today from all around the world and all different time zones. It's absolutely amazing. This is a fabulous and positive community on the forum. And I have a comment. Mr. John Stanton has got to be one of the most kindest and polite people that I know. He talks to Wappler and say thank you, and I talk to Wappler and get into a fight. I'm sorry, not Wappler. I talk to AI and get into a fight. So I think I made it mad once. So after that I started following John's advice, and I say please and thank you myself, and it's been working pretty well. So the future's bright. Wappler's come a long way over these past few years, and it's going to this technology is going to change how we work and how we play and how we live. And I believe I'm optimistic and believe it's all for the better. So in closing, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. These meetups happen on the second Friday of every month. You can keep tabs on get your time zone and links in the forum. All you have to do is search for meetups. And I hope everybody has a very safe and prosperous month. And we'll look forward to seeing you we look forward to seeing you in July. Take good care and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Mark.